everyone, and welcome to another episode of Non Sequitur Nerds. Shots howdy! We'll see you next time, Cowboy. We're going to be talking Cowboy Bebop tonight, the live-action version. As always, I am Tim, joined by my buddy Ian over there. How's it going, buddy?
Going really well. We are winding down tumultuous 2021.
It's still
There's a lot.
2020.
Uh, it's 2021 part due.
Dude, seriously.
Um, Deus Ex 2021, or Deus Ex 2020. Anyway,
Cyberpunk
so
2020. It's just a shit show.
exactly. Which I find that hilarious that you make that joke because I know you like the game.
I do. I
Uh,
like Cyberpunk. I'm actually replaying it on the side a little bit.
Yeah, well, speaking of things that not a lot of people really cared for, as Tim said, we're going to be talking Netflix's live action Cowboy Bebop tonight.
Yeah. A very
So,
divisive show.
correct. So, fair warning, this is going to be a spoiler-filled episode. We are not doing an episodic play-by-play like some of our other reviews are. This is just really going to be kind of our thoughts, feelings, musings
Our post
about
mortem.
post mortem.
Yeah. For those of you that haven't heard yet,
Aw.
they already canceled it. Um, kind of came out of left field. I know a lot of people, like Ian alluded to, a lot of people were pretty torn on this. Netflix already went out and canceled it.
Yeah.
Which like we'll go ahead and get this out of the way. Ian and I enjoyed it. When I saw that news, like I immediately texted him, like, dude, they canceled Bebop. I was
I mean, I
genuinely
wasn't.
surprised.
I
I
wasn't.
was.
I was surprised, but at the same time, I wasn't because
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it's kind of like, given the media attention to the series, it didn't surprise me that
Yeah.
much that they had canceled. But at the same time, it was like, yeah. I mean, maybe they'll find hope somewhere else. You never know. Maybe it hasn't been uncommon for Amazon to pick up some of Netflix's canceled series.
Yeah.
So, it's a possibility that we could see it come back here in the future, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
And see, for me, like the reason you gave for why you weren't surprised at cancellation, they did do a lot of like hyping it up and media attention before the show came out. Like, so for me, for them to put all that time into marketing the fact that this is a thing, it's coming soon, make sure you watch it, only to cancel it, it was like what, like a week, 2 weeks after it came out. I mean, it was pretty quick. I figured they would have, if they were going to cancel it, I figured they would have waited till longer. Like, 'cause they said like the first week it came out, viewership was what they expected, but then the second week it dropped off. And my whole thing was maybe everybody that wanted to watch it already watched it. I mean, I get it from Netflix's point of view. They wanted it. They wanted the people that wanted to watch it. Obviously, they wanted them to watch it, but they wanted new people to come in and watch it. But like, if you hit your target audience, why are you upset that you're not getting other people that weren't your target audience?
Well, so I think Netflix might have shot themselves in the foot a couple of different ways on this one.
All
Now that I
right.
think about it, so they acquired the ability and the rights to stream the original anime
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop on their platform, which they released a few weeks, several weeks, maybe even a month or so before their show,
Hmm.
which was a bit of a gamble.
Yeah.
However, I think it worked out not in their favor because one, it allowed people to watch the movie again and kind of catch back up on or not the movie, but it kind of allowed people to watch Bebop again. Old fans allowed new people to kind
Yep.
of watch Bebop again and see it for the first time and really kind of experience it. And then they released this show, which it's Bebop but not like
Yeah.
it's definitely Bebop in spirit and some of the characterizations and
Oh
things
yeah.
like that. But it's been updated. I mean, the original Bebop came out in the 90s,
Yeah. I mean, it's
so I
at
mean
this
it's
point,
been 25 years.
yeah,
So
it's a
um,
vintage
y-
anime at this point. I mean, let's call it what it is. Yeah.
right. So I mean, it's kind of hard to for me to say that I think marketing really it took a gamble and it didn't work out for them in this case. Um, because it gave people an impression of what Bebop was going to be, and it just wound up not being what people were expecting because
Right.
it's so different. Like it
Right.
definitely draws from the source material, but it's
Oh, quite a bit.
definitely different.
I mean, it is for the most part. I mean, it is a live action remake in a very true sense of the word. Like a lot of the episodes were beat for beat the episode that it was based on. Which wasn't for me wasn't a bad thing. It was nice to see a lot of the scenes that I remember watching the original anime redone with real people and like uh real martial arts, real, combat. It was neat to see that. Um and I wonder if Netflix maybe banked on too much of the novelty or nostalgia of that. Like I was happy with what I got out of it, but I know there's a lot of people that they wanted it to be, maybe like a spin-off, or like we had talked to our buddy Kevin about it, and either he or you, one of you made the comment of, with Bebop, there's no like set timeline between one episode and the next for the most part. They could have easily done, 13 episodes of completely new adventures and said, oh, well, these all took place in between other stuff that you saw in the anime. They could have done that, but they chose to stick with what people knew, which I imagine in Netflix's mind, that was probably their safe bet. Stick with what people like. But like you said, I think the problem a lot of people had was they stuck too much to what people liked, but they also changed enough of what people liked that it made people not like it because it wasn't exactly what they liked about it. But I mean, you and I mean, you were here. We binged the day it came out, or yeah, I think it was the day it came
Five
out.
episodes, I
Yeah,
think.
well, the first 5 or 6 episodes just back to back to
Yeah,
back before we finally were like, okay, it's 2 in the morning. We have to sleep. We're
yeah,
old. We are old. And
yeah.
like we were laughing through it. We were commenting on it. Like we had fun with it, and the whole
hmm
series we had fun with.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a fun series, and admittedly, I haven't finished all of it yet. But I still have some more to go. But I've seen enough of it feel like form a decent enough opinion.
Yeah, same.
So
Well,
all in
and
all,
again, it follows so many of the same beats. We kind of, if we were to do an episode by episode synopsis, we could probably do it just based on watching the anime. Honestly, I mean,
right? Yeah, so I mean, there's some things that I feel like they did that kind of helped things. So they kind of really fleshed out some more of the backstory behind some of the characters and
yes,
things
which
like that,
I love that.
especially Spike and the syndicate and his
Mhm.
involvement with the syndicate and everything else. So they really they really tried to give these characters um, some more background than what
Yeah,
the anime did. The anime, I mean, probably the character that gets the most background would definitely be Spike, but at the same time he also doesn't you don't get a whole lot. Like
yeah,
you don't understand his friendship with Vicious. Like you don't understand that kind of partnership. You don't understand like what was going on with him and Julia other than
yep,
they were in love.
right.
Like you don't really get any of didn't get a whole lot of depth to it, and they started really kind of exploring that in the show,
Yeah, oh,
which I
absolutely, they did.
appreciated. They also kind of give you a little bit more on Jet, and give you a little bit more on Faye. And obviously, they made some pretty major changes to Faye's character.
I liked the
Um,
changes though.
I did too, because in the original one, she's overly sexualized in the original.
Yeah, she
In
was
this
there to be
one,
fan service. That's all. That's
right.
for the 90% of her character was fan service.
Right. In this one, she's much more rough and tumble, gruff, like much more vulgar, and
Yeah, she is.
not that like femme fatale type,
Hmm.
but that she's a bounty hunter. Like she's ready to kick people's ass.
Yep,
Like she's not afraid to
get her hands
kind of get
dirty.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like her and Spike's interactions were much better in the new series as
Yes,
well,
they
because
they they played off
they
each other
actually.
really well in the series.
Yes. Yes, they did. In the original, they just kind of existed with each other. They didn't really show much relationship forming at all until like the very end of the series. And then, Faye kind of like seems like she cares, but you don't
Right?
really understand why.
Yeah,
So they
exactly.
never really explore a whole
She
lot of
just
that. Like you
decides,
kind
yeah,
of
these
got
guys are okay.
yeah, you kind of get the vibe that like maybe she's got a thing for Spike now, but like they don't
They don't.
flesh it out.
Yeah, with this, you definitely see like, for maybe one or like 2 episodes after they meet, they're kind of starting to trust her a bit more. They see that, well, like there's that one of the episodes where it's a Jet Black episode, where the focus is mainly on him, but Spike and Faye, he's like, hey, go pick some bounties, earn us some money. I got some stuff I got to do. Well, instead of picking the bounties, like they're arguing about who's the better bounty hunter, and finally Faye's like, okay, I got one for you, and I don't remember the name, but she drops a name, and Spike's like, wait, you you took him down, and like she shows him proof that I claimed this bounty. He's like, huh. And like the whole time before this, they're arguing about who's the better bounty hunter, or like he'll suggest a name, and she'll go, oh no, there's no way you can take him down. She'll suggest one. He's like, oh, you're nowhere near ready for that, kid. You know, you're too green. But by the end of it, they're sitting there having drinks together, sharing stories about stuff. After she realizes he's legit, he realizes she's legit,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's a backdrop to what's going on with Jet. But it builds up the fact that, okay, Faye is a capable bounty hunter, and Spike slowly is starting to respect her because he's like, you know your stuff, you know what you're doing, and it's some really cool character building while you're also getting, and like I said, an episode focused mainly on Jet, but you're getting more character building for him, his past as a cop, which
Mhm.
it's not, they did flush that out a bit more as well. I mean, we did get that in the original series, but it seems more, there's more substance to it this time around, which I liked.
Yep.
All the characters seem to get a lot more substance behind them. You still get all the like the over the top action that you come to expect from Bebop, but you get more of the, you get more flavor text, you know?
Yeah, and if we look at the actual casting of the character, so John Cho plays Spike Spiegel, and originally I was trepidatious about his casting, but I thought he did a decent job with it.
Yeah,
You know,
I liked
plays the
his rendition.
character, yeah, plays the character well, is able to emote and kind of act in a Spike way. Mustafa
I'm saying
Shakir plays Jet Black, and he is
he got
probably the
pretty
most.
toned. John Cho
Yeah,
did.
I
He
mean
got
he's.
pretty toned up.
Oh yes, yes he did. But Mustafa Shakir again is Jet Black, and
Was
he's probably the
perfect.
most perfectly cast character of them
Yes,
all. Just
yes.
plays an absolutely perfect Jet Black.
Like the mannerisms, the voice, like his commanding nature, like he nailed Jet. I mean,
Yep,
they did perfect with him.
yep. Daniela Pineda as Faye. I feel like she does a good job of it with Faye. And you know, obviously she's more of like Hispanic, Latina um, heritage, but they don't really explain like who Faye was in the original anime. Like you
Right.
never get a feel for heritage. I mean, she maybe kind of looks Asian-ish, but I think that's just mostly with how the female characters were designed back
Yeah.
then.
Well, it's a
So
lot of the art
there's not
style because it
really,
is an anime.
yeah, yeah. So there's not really like any set background for Faye. So I think it works out fairly well. For me, I think one of the more questionable the questionable casting choices is probably Vicious, Alex Hassel.
Like
Um,
that guy's chin, you can cut diamonds with it.
yeah, I mean his
Like,
chin is longer than his katana,
it's
and
true.
it's just
It's
the
true.
like he plays a decent Vicious, but he just didn't seem like
Vicious.
Vicious. Like, yeah, I mean it's kind of like. It's almost like the shirtless Kylo Ren memes that are
Yes.
out like the like he's
Yes.
built like he was built like Adam Driver like he's built like Adam Driver in those shirtless Kylo Ren memes. Like
Yep.
he's
Ben Swolo.
jacked. Yeah, Ben Swallow. Like he's jacked. Like
Right.
he's huge. And the original Vicious in the cartoon is more slim, like he's sleek. He's
Yep.
supposed to be, you know, a sword fighting assassin
Yep.
type. So I imagine he all you know
Very
felt like
very quick
someone
and agile, but yeah,
very yeah very lithe, but
New
they
Vicious looks like
didn't
he could have been a UFC fighter in
yeah
like lightweight division or something. But yeah, like I mean, visual takes aside, the portrayal I thought he did a really good job. But the from a visual perspective, though, I didn't it didn't click with me, anime Vicious to live action Vicious. But as far as like
yeah
the portrayal, I thought he did a good job. But the yeah, visually, I not my favorite casting choice, but he still did a good job with the role.
yeah I think all in all he did all right. Now we do have to admit that we said that Mustafa Shakir was probably the most well cast character, but we did miss that Ayn is actually probably the most well cast character.
I mean,
He
getting a
plays the
corgi
part
that was
perfect.
perfect. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean he does the part perfectly. I have zero complaints about Ein. So congratulations to the casting director of that. That was you know Bravo, that was
Perfect,
perfect.
perfect casting.
Yes, exactly.
But
Um,
jokes aside, it was nice to get, they kept Ein as a corgi, because I mean that you think Ein, you think corgi. I mean Ein is the reason that most people our age own corgis. Let's call it what it is.
yeah. And the other thing is they kind of, even with Ein, they kind of fleshed out a little bit more information.
Yeah,
While also kind of keeping some of the information, because in the original anime, he's like, that super intelligent data dog type thing, but they
right.
don't really go into that very much.
Yeah,
Like in the new series. However, in the new series, they do talk about, like, how dogs are ultra rare, and they're like owning one is super expensive and all this other stuff. So,
right. Which I mean they
um,
they they kind of like briefly touched on that in the anime, but not really
mhm,
anything more than that. Um, but well, in the live action, like it's animals in general. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, so it's again, it's more of they fleshed out the world a lot more this time around. And I know a lot of people that I've talked to and comments I've seen online, like you didn't need to flesh this stuff out. Well, my counterpoint is you didn't need to flesh it out, but to me, it didn't detract when they did flesh it out.
yeah,
But then again,
yeah.
this soup doesn't need this ingredient doesn't mean you should add it. Is I get where some people are coming from,
Right. I mean, you stew doesn't need carrots, but you can put carrots in it.
right?
Chicken noodle soup doesn't need celery, but people put celery in it.
Yeah,
It may not be for everybody.
yeah,
Not everybody
exactly,
may like it, but it doesn't make it any less chicken soup.
exactly,
Um, core metaphor there. So
right?
yeah, I think the some of the production design of the series was interesting as well.
Yeah.
One of the other components that they did was they updated the series to be more gritty, more new age, more adult.
Yes. Oh my
Let's
God, did they?
say it how it is. There's boobs in the show, like just straight up boobs.
Well, and the
Um,
the apart from that, like the level of gore in some of the episodes, like I liked the visual spectacle, like when when they turned people into trees,
yeah,
that was incredibly graphic, but I thought it looked kick ass.
yeah,
But
no,
again, it's a
I
lot
enjoyed it.
more visceral and adult.
Yeah,
They definitely made the series for people our age that watch the anime growing up. It's a very grown up version of Bebop. Like the original Bebop, like okay, I'll let my kids watch that. The live action, no, I'm not gonna let them watch that.
and they're dropping f bombs like they visit brothels and
Right?
whorehouses. The Hund,
Ein Hund, ein Hund.
the Hund, the Hund.
if
Um,
if you haven't got if you've watched the series, you know what we're talking about.
I mean, the assumption is at this point that you have probably watched the series,
Yeah.
that or you have no plan of watching the series, and you just want to know what we
So
think
in
about it,
that case, you have no idea what we're talking about.
and you probably don't care. Anyway, so yeah, the set design, production design of it, I thought was really nice. They
Yeah.
still have that kind of film noir, space, neo punk type thing going on
Oh,
for it,
absolutely.
and it's not cyberpunk. It's not, it's not techno punk. It's not steampunk. It's just kind of that, that old school, like post-apocalyptic dystopian feeling. The dark color, the washed out colors of everything.
Like
I mean, the
from a visual perspective, like it looked like you were watching a Warner Brothers DC movie. Everything was very dark, but at the same time, there were a lot of scenes where everything is super bright and vibrant. So there was a good amalgamation of a bunch of different things that again we like the series. I don't know how many times we can say that, but it's like to me personally, it all worked together. There was a good
yeah.
variety in the visuals that it didn't feel like I was watching something through a sepia tone filter all the time. There's some scenes that are like that. There's some scenes that are just like normal lighting. There's other scenes that are super like neon everywhere, bright and vibrant. It all works together. It feels like Bebop.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, I mean, all in all, the set design, set pieces, and just again the the overall feel of the series again is still Bebop, but it's definitely been updated
Yeah.
for a newer age, newer generation, and it's updated to feel more of that gritty live action component to it. You talked about watching the whole, not watching something in entirely sepia filter. If we look at like one of the Jet focused episodes about, his past and his partner, it's supposed to evoke that old school
Yep.
detective, mystery type thing. So a lot of it is actually done, like there is a lot of that sepia lighting
Yep.
that's in it. It's very brown,
It,
very
it
kind of
it
washed
feels like an
out.
old detective movie.
Yeah, it leans very heavily into the film noir
Yep.
component of it.
And it did a good job.
So it did. So there's a lot of really good design elements to it. I mean, I liked the way they designed the Bebop. I mean, it looks very much
Yeah.
like the original Bebop. It's just been updated, a little bit updated,
Hmm.
and the inside is supposed to evoke, this kind of rundown, barely scraping by
Yeah.
bounty hunter environment. Like it's dark. Like the inside of the Bebop's dark. It's rusty. It's
Not
you know,
maintained.
prop not yeah, not very well
Yep.
maintained.
Yep.
It's in rough shape, but she holds together by duct tape, literally.
I mean,
Um,
yes. Yep.
yeah, so uh, again, set design is it's pretty fantastic. Now, if we jump over to sound design, though, obviously we
Oof.
can't talk sound design without talking about the soundtrack, which has been Bebop is probably the original Cowboy Bebop is probably one of the quintessential anime or really soundtracks period
Yeah.
that have come out of the last 30 years for television shows. I mean, we're talking about a Japanese woman who composed probably one of the greatest bebop albums and soundtracks that has
Yeah.
ever existed. Like
Yeah.
not only in like television wise, but
In general.
in a musical genre in general. I
Yes.
mean, Tank is a
Phenomenal
it's
song.
it's it's a masterpiece, and if you play it, anybody that grew up in the 90s and had cable TV could probably you hear the first two
Dun,
notes
dun,
and you
dun,
go,
dun,
that's
dun.
Tank.
Yep.
Yeah, you go, that's Tank.
And even if
I
they don't
mean,
know the name of it, like, oh, Cowboy Bebop, they
yeah.
recognize.
Or oh,
And
that show that was on Cartoon Network late at night.
yep.
Yeah,
Like, and
like
and you can't listen to Tank without getting a little hyped. It just
yeah,
it gets you going, and like, and in general, like all the music in both the original anime and in the show, all of it is like on cue. Like they know how to use that music to really add to any scene they put it in. Whether it's something fast and upbeat like Tank or something more somber,
like
all
real folk blues.
yes,
Um,
all of it fits beautifully well. And the live action show is no exception to that. They did a phenomenal job with the sound on this.
yeah, the sound and the soundtrack is fantastic. And again, you have Yoko Kanno coming back to redo the music. You have the Seatbelts, the original band that played it, coming back to do the recordings again, and arrangements and all that other
Yep.
kind of stuff. And there are jazz musicians,
Ooh.
jazz groups, people outside of the anime community that play Tank because again, it is one of the
Yeah.
best jazz bebop songs that has ever
Oh
been
God, yes.
made. So, you know, say what you will about the show, about the original anime. I don't think anyone can really argue with the soundtrack for
Yeah.
either of those. They are
Oh yeah.
just they are perfect.
Yeah.
Now,
I
I
mean that's
get some people may not like jazz, they may not like bebop. Okay,
yeah.
not your cup of tea, but I challenge you to listen to Tank and not feel a little bit excited.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
It's such
So,
a great piece.
yeah, it is. It is.
We
It's
we should
absolutely
we should have
fantastic.
talked our band director. We should have found sheet music for it and said, "Hey, can we play this?"
Do the jazz band at the basketball games.
Yep. All
Yep,
right,
it'd be a little bit
here's our
more
halftime
cheery,
show.
a little bit more cheery than the final countdown all the time.
Oh my god. Or the like final countdown and the school fight song. That's all they ever played.
The
The jazz band. That's all they ever played.
wasn't it the University of Michigan fight song
Yes, yes
too?
it
That was
is. Yes it is.
okay.
So
Yeah,
our high school didn't
yeah,
even like most high schools use some like colleges thing. Our high school's in Indiana and we used the University of Michigan's fight song.
yeah.
You think we would have used I don't know, maybe some college in Indiana? You'd think? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe we couldn't get the rights to him.
I don't know. I don't know. But no, yeah, I am in complete agreement on the soundtrack, both in the anime and in the live action. It is just beautifully, beautifully done. Thoroughly
Yep.
enjoyed it. The soundtrack was always one of the things I always enjoyed the most about Bebop, just because it was like I mean, they had highs, they had lows, they had everything in between. It all worked really well. So I'm glad that they got the original sound director from the anime to come back and do the live action, and you can tell she has not
Yep.
lost her touch.
Yep. And if you want to talk about originals coming back, I mean, Watanabe uh, uh, came back to do consulting on the show.
Yeah,
So it's not like Netflix was just kind of taking this and running with it. Like
yeah,
they were working with the original creator as a consultant
yeah.
producer on this show to get his buy-in, his help, his direction.
Yep.
So
And like I feel like with Netflix bringing back a lot of OG like production team. I mean, obviously they're a media production company. They obviously didn't want this to fail. And seeing that they brought back a lot of the original production team, they wanted this to succeed. It just didn't hit the mark, which is really sad because it seems like with them bringing all these people back to work on stuff and wanting to be mostly true to the original source material, it seems like there was some, at least somewhere in Netflix's hierarchy, there was some passion behind it, but it didn't hit the mark. It didn't hit the mark that they wanted it to, which to me is really disappointing because I was looking forward to seeing the entire original anime redone in live action. Now, that I'm not looking for, I want to go ahead and get this completely out there. I was not looking for this series to replace the anime. The anime is always going to hold a very special place for me. It is one of the first full series that I ever watched, but I saw the live action as a nice supplemental thing to it. Like,
yeah,
had it never came out, I would have still liked Bebop. But since it did come out, I'm glad I got to see what I did of it. And again, it is a shame that it's as of now not coming back. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who they're super stoked that it got canceled. My whole thing is Ian and you and I say this on the show all the time. Let people like what they like. If there's people that like it, don't be happy that it got canceled because if you didn't like it, cool, just don't like it. There's people like Ian and
yeah,
I. There
just
are people like
don't
us out there
watch
that
it.
enjoyed it. Just let us enjoy it. But
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, and kind of echo what Tim said. You know, if you didn't like it, then don't watch it. You know,
right,
there's plenty of stuff on TV that I don't want that I don't watch because
yeah.
it's just not enjoy. Like it's not my cup of tea.
Well,
And I
yeah,
realize that you may be upset that this isn't your bebop or your daddy's bebop,
right.
but I mean,
There's
it,
people that
it
like
struck
it.
a chord. Right, it struck a chord with some audiences. And
Yeah,
if we go and look at go and look at some of the reviews and things like that, IMDb's rating for it is 6.7 out of 10. That's not
that's not
bad.
bad.
That's not bad at all for a rating. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, 45, critic score 58%, user score. I mean, that's
Yeah,
still better than
sixty
that's
percent
still
of the
better than
people
a
liked
lot
it.
of that's still better than a lot of crap that's out there.
Yeah,
So it does make me sad that um the Bebops was canceled, and I'm
right,
kind of hoping that maybe Netflix will turn around and decide
right.
not to and come back. Well, we'll see uh how people rally and how it goes. Sorry, I was stalling for time a little bit, but Metacritic was a 47.
All right.
But that's based on 28 critic reviews.
Oh,
So
well, like I mean, you and I kind of talk. We've done a lot of review episodes lately because like this time of year, a lot of stuff comes out. It's holiday season, holiday and summer is when movies really a lot of them come out. Shows, movies, whatever.
right.
And you and I have talked about this lately that it seems like lately critics are in this bubble of poo-pooing on everything. If it's not, a frickin' Scorsese masterpiece, it's garbage.
And I think
And
they've even been rating Scorsese stuff as garbage lately.
which, yeah, I know. But like it seems like lately that seems to be the trend among critics is just to poo-poo on everything. And like I don't know if it's generating negative buzz to get people talking about it as a way to get them to watch it. But like most people, if they go, oh, this thing has bad reviews and I was on the fence, well, I'm not going to give it the time of day. Well, you just kind of shot yourself in the foot there. If it's good, give it a legitimately good review so that people that are on the fence will consume whatever product you have. Now, I'm not saying that's the case with everything,
It's kind of
but
like
it just seems
some of those.
odd. Yeah, like what was it? Eternals.
Yeah.
Critic reviews, they trashed it. Viewer reviews, significantly better. A lot of
Yep.
movies lately, like Venom 2, critic reviews, trashed it. Viewer reviews, significantly better. Ghostbusters Afterlife, critic reviews, at least last I checked. I haven't checked it since I saw that phenomenal piece of cinema. But when I first looked at it, critic reviews were pretty low. Viewer reviews were significantly better. And that seems to
Yep.
be the running trend lately. And I don't know if it's just how the critics are viewing things now. I don't know if it's some kind of ploy to give it bad, like Grand Theft Auto famously in the past specifically gave their game bad press so that people would talk about it so that it would generate you know sales and revenue, and it worked for them back then. I don't know if that really works in today's day and age though. I'm not saying that's the case, but it's odd that so much stuff that fans like that has came out lately, critics have been trashing. It's just, I don't know, it just seems odd to me. Unless critics are just that out of touch, or if they're reviewing it strictly from a critical point and not a would a fan like this. But
Right.
that's not what they're paid to do. They're paid to criticize the movie as a film, not as something that somebody would enjoy, which is a weird, in my opinion, is a weird way to review a film. But again,
Yeah. I mean,
if you send somebody like if you sent me to review Ghostbusters and paid me to do it, obviously I'm going to give it glowing reviews. But if you sent me to watch, Walking Dead, which I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of, I'm going to obviously give that lower marks because I'm not the target audience. So it's a two-sided coin. You can't send somebody that's a fan to review a movie because you're going to get a good typically you're going to get a good review out of it unless it's utter garbage. But at the same time, you don't want to send somebody that has no desire to watch that thing and expect them to give it a good review. They're going to review it as boring or whatever have you because they just don't enjoy the source material. So it's
yep.
it's it's a lose-lose. You can't truly
Yeah.
send somebody impartial.
Yeah. No, I would completely agree with that. And to your point about movie reviews and things like that, it's so hard for to really kind of understand like what it is. You know, I think using reviews, like critic reviews and things like that, is not the way that most people should, um, get get make a decision about seeing a movie. If
Right.
something legitimately interests you, go and see it.
Yeah.
Like,
Go
it's your
and go and
money.
see it and then look at the reviews and go, "Oh, like if you watched a movie and you didn't like it and you see reviews that didn't like it and you agree with that, awesome. If you go and see a movie, you really enjoyed it and all the reviews are trashing it, who cares what the reviewers said? You enjoyed it. It doesn't matter if, some random reviewer on Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes, whatever didn't like it. If you enjoyed it, enjoy it. Take their opinions, critical think about them, and like, you know what, they did mention that this scene is a little ham-fisted and there were a lot of plot holes. You know what, yeah, having watched it, I could see that. But did you still enjoy it? No. And
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
fully entitled to change your opinion after getting new information or talking to somebody about it. Like, yeah, you're right. I that part of the movie I didn't think about it at the time because I was caught up in it. But yeah, you're right. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Or yeah, there was a lot of continuity errors. Or yeah, the camera work actually was pretty bad in that. You're fully entitled to change your opinion as well, both good or bad. My thing is give unless you have zero, absolute zero interest chance of ever watching something, at least give it a shot. I know there's people that I've talked to online that they wanted to watch Bebop, but after hearing so many people trash it, they're like, I'm probably not gonna. At least give it a shot. You might be pleasantly
Yeah.
surprised, and it's okay to not agree with the majority.
Yep. And again,
I'm getting off my
sometimes
soapbox now.
Yeah, sometimes things take a little bit of time, a little
Yeah,
bit of history lesson for you. Think movies like Shawshank Redemption. It was critically panned when it came out. Now it's
yeah.
considered like critics hated it. Like they
Which,
hated that
yeah,
movie when it came out, and
yeah,
now it's considered a classic and one of I think it's on IMDb, like one of the top 10 in IMDb's like top 100 greatest movies of all time.
yeah.
Um, you know, we're into the holiday season. If you look at It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart, that movie was generally hated, and one of the Coppolas, I believe, directed it.
Yeah.
Um, it was generally hated when it first came out, but it's now considered, a Christmas classic.
And okay, you mentioned one of the Coppolas there. I found out something earlier today I didn't
Oh,
know.
sorry, it was Frank Capra.
Okay,
Um,
but you mentioned Frank, one of the Coppolas, and that reminded me, or I read something earlier about one of my favorite actors, Nicolas Cage.
yeah,
His
he's
uncle
a
was
Coppola.
yeah. I didn't know that. I did not know that until he specifically changed his last name because he didn't want to ride on his uncle's coattails. Because
Yeah,
growing
exactly.
up, everybody told him, you're going to get into Hollywood just because of your uncle. You're never going to be good, but because your uncle is who he is, you're going to get in. He changed his name and was a bad actor on his own.
Yes, but
Bless you, Nick Cage. I love you to death. You are a phenomenal B actor.
have you seen the preview for his new movie that's coming out?
Which one?
I can't quite remember the name of it, but it's it's Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage.
Oh, I've heard about that. I haven't seen the trailer for it, but I've heard about that.
Yeah,
It intrigued me.
yeah,
It's Nick
it's
Cage playing Nick Cage, but he's not playing himself. He's playing Nicolas Cage. If that makes any sense at all.
he is Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage, and his best friend in the movie is Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
So who is
This.
not playing Pedro
Yeah.
Pascal,
So yeah,
but
it's not Nick Cage playing himself. It's Nick Cage playing Nick Cage.
yes.
Which like I
So
read the basic description. I'm like that seems like a very Nick Cage role.
oh, it is 100% him leaning into his meme personality.
Like he
Uh,
knows. He has to know.
yeah. I mean, if you look at him doing the history of swear words on Netflix, that's
Yep.
also him leaning into
Yep.
that Nicolas Cage like memedom.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
anyway, so kind of getting back off track and into some of our non sequiturs.
Yeah. We were due for one,
I
I
think
think.
Yeah, I think so. So kind of tying things back together with Bebop.
Yeah.
All in all, was what I felt to be a good show, an
Yeah.
enjoyable show.
Absolutely.
It I went into it expecting it not to be the Bebop that I remembered. I
Mm.
expected it to be different. I expected them to change things. I prepared myself for that.
Right.
And I went into it fully knowing that this was not going to be a necessarily a shot for shot remake with nothing like none of the dialogue changed, like everything the exact same. I knew it wasn't going to be that.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that.
Right.
So, you know, ultimately what I can say is if you want to watch the show, I suggest you watch the show.
I
Like,
agree.
but I will advise you. This is just my advice. Understand that it is not the the anime Bebop,
Yes.
and you will potentially enjoy it. And if you don't like it, turn it off and go watch,
Yeah.
I don't know, Walking Dead or The Witcher, or
Witcher. I forgot about that.
yes, as of the time of this recording, the season 2 of The Witcher has just come out. So,
Yeah, it has.
uh,
And I'm off work for the next 2 weeks.
I
It's
hate
gonna
you.
be. I'm gonna run out of stuff to watch.
I hate you. Anyway, um,
But yeah, I agree with Ian on that. I mean, if you've got Netflix, you're not out anything if you give it a shot. You're already paying for the subscription. Indulge yourself. Try it. Watch a couple episodes. If you like it, cool. Keep watching it, and then be sad that you're not going to get any more of it. If you don't like it, again, you're out your time.
yeah, you're,
Watch. Yeah.
you've. Let's all admit it here, folks. You have wasted 2 hours on much worse things like Miss America pageant or
Batman
The
versus
Nanny,
Superman.
Batman versus Superman, Us.
Uh,
I mean,
I mean, and I mentioned this to Ian. It's we're getting towards the end of the year. Everything's doing wrap ups right now. We got our Spotify stuff. We have really how much content did I say we had released at that point? Like
50 hours?
50, yeah, yeah, just shy. Like by the time I think the full year is done, it'll be just shy of 60 hours of content. So for those of you that have listened or watched to every single episode, thank you for wasting that much of your life listening to us bitch about being opinionated nerds. Um, I mean,
Yes. Uh,
it's if you wasted time on us, go watch an episode of Bebop. We're
it can't be any
it
worse.
can't be any worse.
Uh,
And if watch it just to see a cute corgi, all right. If nothing else, you get to see a doggo, all right.
exactly. Um, so
Uh,
with that, I think that'll probably wrap up
I
our
think
kind of
so.
opinionated review, end of year review of
Our
Cowboy Bebop.
our post mortem for Bebop.
Yes. Netflix, if you're watching, listening, paying any sort of attention to us, which I doubt you are, but one can dream. We are potentially in it to shill.
Yeah,
If you wanna do a more high production value version of our podcast,
yeah.
we'd be willing to talk. You can reach our agents. Find us on Facebook or
My
Twitter.
agent is Ian. His agent is me.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
tax write off thing. Okay.
Yeah. So, but beyond that, if you are watching or listening, give it another shot, please. You've supported worse shows.
at least finish off the series. Even if you don't make any new stuff after that, at least finish off the series.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, yeah. So with that, I think that's going to do it for us for
Think
tonight,
so.
as
Think
far
so.
as our review goes. So, thank you for sticking with us and enjoying our review of Cowboy Bebop. Thank you also for sticking with us as we've gone through over 50, 60 hours of content. We appreciate all of you, our listeners, our loyal listeners, our new listeners, and those of you that have helped and supported us along the way.
Yeah. Thank you very
I would
much.
I would name you, but I don't remember all of you, and you know who you are.
Oh yeah.
Much love. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for tonight. As
I think so.
always, thank you to our many unpaid partners in this. Anchor.fm, our hosting platform, which feeds out to Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and several other podcasting sites. YouTube.com/non sequitur nerds, where you can find all of our video recordings and some of our original audio recordings before we did the video. Also catch us sometimes, occasionally, live on twitch.tv/non sequitur nerds. And on social media, you can find us on Twitter at non sequitur nerd and facebook.com/non sequitur nerds. So I think that covers all of it.
I think so.
Also, wanted to provide one additional and final shout out. Please, everyone, give a round of applause to Timothy. He finally got out of the dark ages and managed to get gigabit internet now. So, if he doesn't look
Everything
like
loads
crap,
instant.
yes, and if he doesn't look like crap anymore on camera, it's because he
No, I,
actually has
I
a
look
decent
I look
connection.
worse with no buffering. Go
Uh,
back to the dial up.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna send you some of these little plastic flappy things that I have for my webcams that you can just like flick down. And that way, it hides you. That's the only way either one of us look good on camera. So,
It's really true.
uh,
We have to
yeah.
have
So
special lighting. We're so pale that it just reflects. It looks like some kind of heavenly being is talking to you. So,
right, we just need a
especially off of
sound
Ian's
effect to make
head.
it. Yeah, we just need a sound effect to sound like Scooby Doo goes.
We really do.
Um, So yes, congratulations to Tim for finally getting internet that isn't run by
Oh
a
my
fleet
god.
of Clydesdales.
It is so amazing.
So
So amazing.
with that, I think we will actually wrap up for tonight.
There we go.
Thank you for joining us again. We appreciate all of you. We all hope you have a wonderful good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you're listening to us. And as in the spirit of this time of year, happy holidays. And we hope you have a wonderful end of your 2021. We're going to try to take it out, finish up the year alive.
Yeah.
So, but I think that'll do it. So, thank you again for non sequitur nerds. As always, I am Ian, and
I'm Tim. Good night, everybody.